we probably lose anyway.
Exactly. I think you're absolutely right. I wasn't saying that it was necessarily a bad thing. I was just saying that his smite timings were certainly on point. Spirit needing to find his. As we move into game number 2, looks like no subs, nothing like that. No Mowgli going to come in. Not going to see aiming. Not going to see Rather either. As both teams keeping their squads together, moving into this second match.
Ahmet and Zephyr, the drafting coaches of Afreeca, smiling in the booth as well. There is still so much League of Legends to be played today. Long game number 1. Very interested to see if game number 2 follows a similar cadence. So far, again, we spoke about how Griffin, in best of 3s, have been pretty inflexible. They've rolled with what works, which is what most teams do, but they've rolled what didn't work many times as well. So let's see how they approach game number 2. Do want to notice, guys, it is dynamic side selection today. In game number 1, Griffin chose red side. Afreeca Freecs, who surprised us with their red side priority against Kingzone and played that entire series on red side, will pick red side for game number 2.
And Griffin are going to ban away their own champions that were successful in game number 1, taking them off the board here.
Noticeable that Afreeca Freecs will be banning away the Aatrox. We saw Aatrox first pick into no power in game number 1, second least damage in the game. One support did less than the Aatrox. And the support did more, which lets you know that Aatrox didn't do too much. They don't want to give Aatrox over to Griffin either. And Talia fell through picks and bans in game number 1. Griffin would love to ban away more of the threatening champion pool from Tucson and Spirit. To me, those are the two that you want to target the most. And they'll stick with Tucson. That is the pretty standard ban of the Rakan against Afreeca Freecs.
Well, Tahm Kench still available as we move to the very end of this draft. Going to be banned away here by the Afreeca Freecs, but it means, like you say, Talia available once again.
Do you first pick Varus is the question I asked Griffin, because they prized it away in game number 1, and Afreeca love red side flex pick of Varus. It's also the super high KDA coming through from Kramer. So against this particular team, rather than a power level pick like Zoe, I would really like something like the Varus. The Alistar is another one you could try to prize away. Something they've done before, pick for Lehends. So it will not be Varus Alistar left open, but the Swain is left open if Afreeca Freecs want it, and both Predator junglers that Spirit has been focusing on, the Olaf and the Gragas, are available.
Gragas, of course, a flex pick as well into multiple roles here for the Afreeca Freecs, so it makes a lot of sense to grab this one away if they do decide to go with it. I feel like Gragas Varus is standing out like a bit of a sore thumb for the first round for the Afreeca Freecs, but we'll see what they decide to go with.
Gragas Yasuo. A pretty tasty duo.
Yeah.
The Yasuo here between Chovy and Kuro, two very high priority Yasuo players, is something both these teams have to think about. What be a first round pick? Like you mentioned, the Gragas Varus would be the more obvious choice, so return of the Predator Gragas coming through from Spirit. We're on patch 8.15, so the Electrocute nerfs and the other cheap shot nerfs are not there on this patch. I think Griffin will stick with Predator junglers, and they do. This is a more conspicuous time, Atlas, because Trundle is available and looked over by Tarzan.
Yeah, completely. And now Griffin, do they decide to lock in something like the Ashe into the Varus that's seen a bit of success, or do they pick up that Yasuo, like we were talking about?
Kind of insane to go from 0 games of Varus and Ashe into Varus into Ashe in this series.
That would be a bit weird.
So first game of the Varus. This would be an LGD special over here.
It's been something that he's playing in solo queue as well. Viper has been spamming these ones. I actually saw it most recently in the Oceanic Pro League yesterday.
So this is a big pick for Y4 on LGD, and it's a very big pick into specifically champions like the Tahm Kench and the Varus in particular. Varus wants to load up behind the minions in queue. That's usually also terrain where you can get a lethality queue from a lethality stacking Misfortune to hit through. So it's something different for the LCK, but this is going to be Viper jumping on the Misfortune AD carry to try to deal with the Varus. And if it's lethality, he's going to feel real good.
And this is the absolute opposite of what you really want into a Misfortune lane as well. Picking up the Shen here as the final pickup in the first round for the Afreeca Freecs, because that doesn't offer very much lane presence. And that's exactly what Misfortune has. I mean, the first 20 minutes of the game are exactly her domain.
But Gragas also has one of the easiest on-demand interrupts of the Misfortune ultimate.
True.
The lethality build is basically, I dominate lane, and then my ult is pretty big. That's what you do. You don't really do too many other things. You can also build a Stormrazor later, like we saw from the Varus. So it is pretty typical of lethality Varus, your expectations when, if you're a viewer unfamiliar with the latest builds on the Misfortune, understandable.
Yep.
But we'll leave that to one side. We can return to the Misfortune when we get into game. Looking at the bans here, we are once again targeting the fallback champions of Sword. Will we just see Gnar versus GP another game in a row?
Well, Yasuo going to be taken away here by the Afreeca Freecs, probably working out whether they wanted to pick it or not at this point in time. Zoe once again, I mean, she wasn't looked at in game 1 and still hasn't been considered in game number 2.
Let's talk about the heads-up nature of this GP ban. Afreeca Freecs, Keen has been basically a god on every champion. The Gnar is one that he hasn't really performed on. He's been okay, but the Gnar hasn't been a big pick for Afreeca. You know what I think Keen wants to do? I think Keen wants to pick Jax into Gnar. The Gnar is the obvious one for Sword to pick up. When Kingzone played Afreeca, they actually banned Jax second round against Keen in particular. So that's kind of the mind game I think's going on here. It could also be just the Gragas in a tank matchup if Sword goes on to a top lane tank in the end.
Well, where is Chovy going to go? Because we've spoken about his champion pool a lot. The Gnar, exactly what we were expecting
of course.
Out of Sword, but what does Chovy do now? Because the Orianna is sort of, that's the option that he would theoretically go towards if we're looking at his most played, things like that, and it's okay.
You worry about it though, because it's kind of about Wombo. It's can we get a shockwave and also a Misfortune otherwise, ooh. So you can understand it's a good laning matchup against the Zoe. Let's see what they'll prefer here. They will just go Ori anyway. I think this does make things difficult because one cast to disengage people and things can get messed up in the execution very easily.
But if they pick something like the Vel'Koz instead, then that's more
Here's another way you can attack the Gnar.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, certainly the way to do it. The Quinn, we've seen it out of Keen already. Another option is the Camille. He's got lots of counter picks that he can play with.
We'll see if they want to go for it. They're deciding between the two. The Ignite Summoner's taken, so it's going to be the Quinn. Straddles the line a little bit more. Not going to be a cannon or something like that here. That was banned away. They're going to go attacking topside into trying to wreck mid lane. When you see the Orianna, who can do very well in extended laning phase against Zoe, if you can just get to level 6, roam from top to mid multiple times, and take that Orianna turret, things can really fall into place. Keen coming off an MVP performance on the Quinn in the wildcard match.
Yeah, this is going to be a really rough matchup for Sword, but Tarzan has got the Olaf once again. We saw him able to get that double kill very early in the first game and get Griffin into a decent position. We had question marks around what Griffin had put together that game as well. This time around, it certainly is there for Chovy. The 40% win rate, Orianna hasn't been his most impressive champion, but it's been fallback when he's had bans thrown at him, when he's had picks taken away from him. Can he prove to us that this is something they wanted to go with instead of it just being his comeback pick?
And these comps are really fun to cast because it's so clear what both teams want to do. Quinn's never going to be there in a 5v5 team fight unless she's flanking. Very much going to be about the strong siege core that the Varus provides while Quinn is off split pushing. Meanwhile, Griffin looks at the time when Quinn is split pushing and says, if we can get that right Alistair-Ori combo, they all die instantly, and then we profit. So it's going to be so fun watching those little moments. Execution heavy is going to be both sides. Quinn, so hard to pull off competitive play compared to a dominant performance in solo queue. And a Wombo comp, it looks great when it's working. It looks silly when it falls behind.
Certainly does, but the damage dealers on the side of the Afreeca Freecs are relatively stationary, apart from that of the Quinn. We'll see whether Griffin's going to be able to get this comp to work as well as they got the first one to in the late game. Let's get into game 2. Afreeca fans, so incredibly loud. Remember, guys, if the Afreeca Freecs win this series, they are going to Worlds. That is a guarantee, because they'll either win LCK or have the most champion points, because KT will be already going to Worlds after the win.
And if Griffin win, they're in the final, which already is a story. That means they are one step away from the true royal road of winning the LCK with 6 rookies and a rookie coach in your first ever split in the LCK. But importantly, they are not locked into Worlds because they don't have circuit points from spring season. They're not going to be able to make it. They would be the final boss in the gauntlet if they were to lose the final, and Afreeca would go anyway, seeing this historical pick here. 2017 spring, good old Sangyun, who likes the one-offs, jumping on the Misfortune that day. Already mentioned it in Champ Select if you're joining us late or on the VOD. This is once again going to be Comet, just like in game number 1 on the Varus from Viper. It is a lethality misfortune played a lot by LGD's Y4, who was also guilty of the bot lane Orianna in the LPL. Seeing some play it specifically picked into Varus as an AD carry and very strong against Tom Kent as well. Ability to poke him when he's trying to open up with his Q is what you can match there. And notice that Kramer is not going for a full lethality build. He is going for the much more normal lethal tempo. Still going to be great poke options for Viper.
Certainly feeling a bit of the pressure, though, because he's gone Resolve secondary on his more attack speed-based Varus, which certainly has been his favorite.
Oh, you don't go Resolve secondary and that lethality Q hits you for 700 damage. You just exit lane as you enter it. So a lot of respect being shown there, but nice for you to point it out, Atlas. That is a nice little gamesmanship choice against someone who has so much lane presence, whether it's support or AD carry in the Misfortune.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Misfortune or played against Misfortune for a while, you can sometimes make the mistake. I certainly have in solo queue when she lands a double up and you just die.
You think you're going to dodge the ult and then you forget the Q is just going to bounce onto you and kill you before the ult even comes online.
It's almost like you use a zoning bullet time.
Is a Doran's Ring start as well, just for mana sustain. Coming through from the Misfortune. Was an old pick on Jhin, of course, people will remember.
Also, Make It Rain being AP-based as well means that you can get a little bit more harassment, as we saw already utilized. Chovy playing this lane out very nicely.
Oh, has AP scaling. There's all little reasons that incentivizes some champions like Jhin and Misfortune who do try to get lane control. And people will look back at game number 1, and the final build, right, was Comet with the lethal tempo build of Rage Blade and Blade the Ruin King, and say, well, why did he even go for Comet? The choice of Misfortune with Comet and Doran's Ring, we don't know what it will provide in the late game, but it's there for lane priority. It's there to have advantage over the Varus in the 2v2 laning phase, and it's there for specific reasons. It's there for a specific timing. For the first 25 to 30 minutes, the Misfortune will have immense value if you go this build path, and sometimes that's enough. The marksman doesn't always have to be there to hit 6 items and crit tanks. That's not always what marksmen are for, and Viper has been one of the prototypes of that. When interviewed about why he played Ezreal and awesome dudes like Vladimir and Yasuo, he said, well, I just think of Ezreal as a spellcaster, a mage in the bot lane that goes down the AD tree. This Misfortune is the prototype of just that thought process.
Yeah, exactly that. Currently playing it a little bit like support Misfortune of old. If you hadn't been, if you haven't seen too much Misfortune since she was popular, that was exactly the Misfortune that we were seeing. An exhaust going to be picked up by Kuro here. Always feels like an all-in when you see a summon a spell. God, I hate Zoe. Very frustrating.
You and everyone else, Atlas.
Yeah, that's true. But I hate her for different reasons. I think that she's fine. I just, I struggle to work out exactly what she's trying to do, and there's just so many summoners going everywhere.
Predator junglers on both sides. I think Spirit caused a lot of people to reevaluate the choice of Electrocute and Predator. You might think, oh, but wasn't it nerfed? But remember, we're still on 8.15 in competitive play. EULCS was also on 8.15 this weekend. So the bigger takeaway there is that Predator and your ability to have huge gank pressure is being preferred to Electrocute on a lot of junglers. The Olaf always love Predator. And speaking of Predator, Olaf.
Yep, you're going to have the headbutt moving Toussaint back as well. Spirit's Refuge not going to provide nearly enough, as he's not even going to find any taunts here as Viper. The auto attack not going to be there. He wanted to flash, but he didn't have any mana available. Walks over the control ward, does Toussaint, and Chovy was back in base, so he's still going to be able to make his way out.
That ramping up auto attack damage not there from the Misfortune, so final auto onto a target already marked doesn't do enough damage. Frustrating from Griffin. The gank path, the gank timing was perfect, but Orianna in base buying the double dank seals means she's not there to clean it up. They get a lot of time wasted from Afreeca's duo, but Spirit can come in and push in the wave, and they don't even get the preferential lane back either.
Yeah, Chovy, that's a lot of dark seals. Yeah. Really wants to get as much value out of his corrupting potion.
It's also the most lane presence early, and the worry is that Orianna, who does do well in trades at level 7 to 9 against a Zoe, if she doesn't get hit by Trouble Bubble, might just find Quinn in her lane 3 times and lose the turret anyway. So once again, the maximum amount of healing and also just oomph, 200 extra mana, a bit of extra ability power. It's basically saying, I don't want to be pushed out, and then Quinn comes and takes my turret.
Well, Quinn at the moment is going to be going home. Tarzan was thinking about trying to grab a gank up there, but Keen says nope. He's hit level 6. He can utilize his birdie form. just head back towards that top side all too easily. Viper happily farming here towards the bottom side as well as Lahen's just setting up shop, wanting to deny Kramer as many minions as possible. Difficult to do when Piercing Arrow is going to be there to take a lot of them down.
That's probably why you were so surprised to see the Shen Varus as the final answer, because the Varus part, understandable, was prized and taken before Misfortune. Shen is also someone who really can only taunt. That's his only real lane function, apart from a Smart Spirit's Refuge at times. So he kind of just gets hit by Qs by Misfortune quite a lot. Doesn't really have a lot of lane presence here. So it does double down on how much presence Griffin have. Not often is Alistair seen on the winning side of a 2v2, but is seen on the winning side of a 2v2 when he's next to Misfortune.
Oh yeah, almost everyone is. In fact, I would have liked Lahen's to pick Brand and just gone all in. That lane is repugnant. Spirit looking for a potential gank here. Not a lot of mana on Kuro, but does have the blue buff, so that'll be changing very soon. Tarzan moving on up. Vision available from the Afreeca Freecs, but hasn't been spotted just yet. Finally gets pinged out.
Tarzan spotted and, of course, knows that with the fruit being taken already, that the enemy jungler's been in the same quadrant. I don't believe he spots the ward there. Yeah, it's not being cancelled out by his control ward. The Spirit's not going to be surprised in this case.
Spirit not going to be spotted, though, at this point in time either.
Tarzan doesn't know he's on a ward.
Ocean Drake, yeah.
There's a lot of incomplete information going on here, but not ships in the night by any means.
Yep, Zeus going to be able to land the taunt here onto Lahen's. His flash is going to be utilized to get out of the way of the paddle star. And that means that Tarzan is not going to be able to find this Drake. Yeah, well, they're looking for it. Okay, gets himself the shield from the Command Protect. Trouble Bubble doesn't land onto Chovy from Kuro. It looks like Spirit doesn't want to take this dragon. And a lot of summoner spells now used. Bullet time comes down onto Kramer, who loses only half of his health bar.
Still, half of his health bar and gets into lane at a bad time. They have picked Misfortune with Comet to keep Kramer away from having 2v2 control. They want to take Drakes. They want to be able to invade and Comet Misfortune into whatever flavor of Varus you get is going to be a winning matchup. So it's fine to use the ultimate just to keep Kramer on the back foot.
Moment Chovy with a fair bit of control in the mid lane as well. Wave pushing towards him and does have CS parity. This is the time where Zoe's going to become scary. When she goes back, grabs a lost chapter or whatever she's going to get first. Certainly going to be where Zoe starts to become a problem.
I guess we should talk about the Quinn, because not everyone would have watched Keen playing this the next Arena in the wildcard match. We all know how strong a laner she is. When you see her, when you're auto-filled into top lane and see a Quinn, you just kind of rack your brain for anything that can get through the lane. It's a tough one. The reason why in competitive play, even after a couple of Quinn nerfs, as Chovy eats the Ignite, because just so he thinks.
Yeah.
The reason why we still see Quinn is that at the end of the day, you have to remember that all her items were buffed this patch. It was one of those things you forgot. You're like, man, so many more crit marksmen now that their items are 700 gold cheaper. Keen just went a 700 gold Infinity Edge Zeal item Stormrazor build on the Quinn, and also reached just oppressive split pushing power earlier into the game with solo farm. That's what can happen. So play the Ruin King into full AD build is very, very viable for Keen on this particular patch. And speaking of Keen, at least Sword has been able to reach parity so far in the lane.
Yeah, deciding to go for the Ninja Tabi and the Kindle Gem to give himself as much staying power as possible. Did the same thing against the Gangplank, but certainly much more necessary against that of the Quinn. Difficult to gank, and it's not where Spirit's going to decide to try and draw first blood. Still hasn't happened anywhere, and the gold is even more even than game number one, which was difficult to do because, good God, it was close in game one in the early game. As Sport's just going to bonk heads together. Lahen's doesn't end up taking down the control ward.
Good thing for Afreeca this game is that in a even farm game, Quinn finishes her items, and Sword can't buy items to beat Quinn. It just can't happen. Whatever item build you go, there's going to be a trade-off. Meanwhile, Quinn will build precisely for lane and split push because he never has to build for team fight because he never team fights. That's how you go with Keen on the Quinn. So given that kind of ability is, well, before those items are complete, you can see it's a little bit trickier.
Yeah, Sword actually upset that he turned it to Mega Gnar because he would have liked to have Mini Gnar for some more harass now that that Hyper is charged up a little bit more.
You need your item timings to actually be able to harass down the Gnar. That's why we're actually seeing Tarzan come into this lane. They can disrupt Keen before his items are there. Here we go.
Yeah, there's the flash. Now the flash has to be used to get out of the way of the wallop, but it's not going to be enough. The hyper proc. Oh, Spirit's refuge was enough, but the undertow does land. Now Spirit looking for more. The taunt mid-air is going to lock down the Gnar, but First Blood does go over to the side of Griffin, and they have control of the bottom lane.
And that last part is the important part. Yes, they can use the global, but they vacate bot lane to make it happen. Let's see if they can actually lose the turret here. Misfortune can change targets and do a lot of turret damage. That's why the ult invested by Kramer.
Yep, ult is going to be outside of turret range, so Lehens doesn't take too much, doesn't even have to use the ultimate to get himself in there, and this minion wave will be dealt with. Viper very easily secures all of these creeps.
Smart roam coming through from Chovy. They want this turret to still punish Afreeca Freecs.
And they want to make sure that Kuro can't get himself any cheeky picks down here as well. Looks like they will be able to lock this one down unless Kuro can get rid of the minion wave very effectively. Nope. It looks like the answer's no, and Chovy knows exactly what's going to happen. Really nicely done from Griffin very early into this game.
And it's really fun to appreciate the levels upon which that play happened. The gank top side to try to shut down Keen. Pre-play the Ruin King, play a trading advantage over the Gnar. That one came in, it was successful. But the global that Shen will use reliably to win the 1v1 and help Quinn split push better is able to pull it into implied parity. But because Varus was counterpicked by the Misfortune and already lost turret health, they 2v2 down the turret. The Orianna knows to roam first so that Zoe can't be there to stop the turret going down. They actually kill the turret super early, and its swiftness boots into lethality Misfortune. She just wants to roam around and use her ultimate and push. She's not interested in trading in lane any further.
Yeah, that strut certainly going to be working, as there's the Hexa Flash to come out from Lehens. Bullet time not going to be enough to get rid of Kuro, as the Ignite is going to tick down but not get the kill.
But you still have to wave goodbye to Kuro, and how much turret health do you have to wave goodbye to in mid?
Well, potentially all of it, as Chovy's going to try and help do some damage here, but Viper decided not to turn up. He's going to head bottom lane and catch the wave that Kramer's pushing. And we could have just another Hexa Flash utilized here by Lehens, who's well and truly behind. Oh yeah, see you later, Kramer. You're just dead, mate. He's got 2 summoner spells. He's not going to use any of them because he's just straight up dead. Viper picks up the kill very easily, and Griffin are starting the snowball.
Smart not to waste any summoners there. You think, oh, I can flash the headbutt, but Olaf's already hit you with an axe. You're dead, whatever happens. So
yeah.
We'll hold on to those summoners. That's what happens. Either they were going to get a lot of turret damage in mid, or they roam down behind the Varus and interrupt Varus again. Varus down 20 CS is something you will almost never see. Picked as a blind pick on the red side, just for safety. It's a dial pick in this game number 2.
And what is the best thing that you can see from a macro level of League of Legends? I feel like it's making your opponent make decisions that are always going to be bad. And that's exactly what Griffin have done here. I mean, Kramer had to be pushing down there, but he was going to get punished for it, and there was no choice that he had.
Do you know why Griffin are a unique team, Atlas? It's not just the results that obviously speak for themselves, but also consider they watched Afreeca Freecs dictate to Gen G and Kingzone, and instead saying, man, we have to ban that Gragas, all those other picks that Afreeca won with. They said, by the way, we picked Varus, we picked these champions, they won with it, and then the mind games in the draft were actually done by Griffin and not Afreeca Freecs. Afreeca are responding to Griffin, even though you would think that almost any other team, especially a team full of rookies on a royal road, will be responding to Afreeca Freecs and what they showed in the first 2 matches of the playoffs.
And that was the conversation that we were having in game number 1 as well. It's like, what can Griffin actually do in a best-of-5 scenario as Tucson? He's going to be the next one to get caught out. Ragnarok has been invested. Tucson does go golden, as Keen has a lot of damage availability. Flash already utilized, but the teleport comes down from Sword, and Viper just bullet times the Shen in the face. That's one way to lock down a kill. That's going to be the second for the Misfortune, as Griffin are all over this map, just getting kill after kill.
They're just making it a pick comp. They're so fast, because of course it's Youmuu's Ghostblade, Swifty Boots. Misfortune can always respond first.
Good God, she moves quick.
They found a way. Afreeca thought they had reinforced their early game and stopped Griffin from having another win lane Olaf draft, but the Misfortune is something they haven't scouted. I imagine they've scrimmed plenty of Chinese teams, because we're seeing a lot of influences from the LPL in the pick ban order in this series. Watching this steal here.
Yep, they still want it, but Spirit is going to be able to lock that one up, I believe. It looks like they should be able to gatekeep the buff, though, as the ultimate flies through from Kramer. Lehens ults to get himself out of the stun. Kramer not going to be able to get anything from that one, as now Keen fighting onto Sword. This is the matchup that Afreeca Freecs fans are looking towards. for Keen to just straight up win, because if he's losing that, it's over. Spirit finally manages to get the Eye of the Void.
Can't patrol it forever, don't have the ultimate onto Viper, so don't get too greedy.
Okay, Keen. Sky Strike to do some extra damage here. His sword doesn't get the hop, and the flash comes in from Keen to deny it.
He gets flash. That's huge to get away from the Quinn. Now she has to think twice about some of her side lane plays. She's trying to come back onto sword anyway, though.
Yep, throws a clock at her. So, at least going to be intimidated by the Gnar. It's going to be able to stand under a turret now, though, so things should be okay. The Vault threat still there as Keen's just moving past the minions.
Tarzan shadowing here.
Yep, as we say, the Vault does come down. Blade of the Ruined King going to be invested here, but Keen has got so many creeps down here on the bottom side. It will be a 2v2, but remember, Sword is exhausted and doesn't have too much more. The flash comes in, actually switching them as Tucson is going to help grab that first kill. Now the flash has to be used to get Tarzan out of there, paired with the ultimate as well. It's a good pick, as now Kramer, once again a sitting duck, but it's a good flash out of the headbutt from Lehens. They trade flashes, and Kramer's even able to get some good damage back. Nothing available for Griffin. Really nice play from Afreeca.
Trying to make a play top side where the Rift Herald is not. Always worried that Gragas will increase the tempo of the trade, but he's going to hold on to the Rift Herald for another moment. They get the kill bot side, so nice moment for Afreeca Freecs. Kramer's not flash again, so at least that part you're feeling good about. If you're Griffin, you got the Summoner down on the Quinn and the Varus. This Varus needs to auto-attack. It is not just a Q-Max with Comet Lethality Varus. But so far this game has been blow for blow. I think Griffin have had the better of the early game, but definitely not to the tune of a game-winning lead.
Yeah. Certainly not, and we're looking at win conditions here as well. I mean, Misfortune winning lane, coming out very strong into the mid-game is something that Griffin needed to do. Keen getting ahead, that was something that Afreeca needed to do. Both of these requirements have been met for both of our teams, and now who's going to be able to control this mid-game the best is the question on everyone's minds. Viper picks himself up. The makings of his Duskblade will have so much threat when that finally does come in. Already 2 serrated Dirks worth of lethality picked up for the Misfortune.
Probably going to be all-you-can-eat Dirks this game. I imagine you go the way of the Edge of Night just because you want something to stop Gragas. Gragas the only person who can actually interrupt the bullet time very reliably, so Edge of Night plus Ultimate is a very possible combo we see in this particular game. We're in a second item in our first game of the night, if you're joining us late.
I think Lord Dominic's Regard third item is just too good on Misfortune as well.
I mean, it's good, but I think it has to be maybe fourth, just because, you know, it doesn't really matter how much damage your ult does if it's interrupted.
Yeah, and the squishiness of Afreeca's comp means that lethality does feel pretty free. You're right.
So here we go, roaming through. Keen still rotating through, about 50% of cooldown of the way to his flash. Seems like the Rift Herald is going to be the next flare point in this game, as Sword is spotted by the W.
Yep, Harrier flies out. Lets him know exactly what's going on. But he's pretty comfortable as his Black Cleaver, Longsword hanging out there as well as Viper. Okay, fair bit of damage opportunity. Is good God, he runs so fast. It's like early game powerhouse Jhin. You know, Jhin just goes way too quick, but you got a dissonance on you as well as your Swifty boots and your passive.
The thing you have to remember, though,
so quick.
The difference between the two is that when Jhin runs at you, each shot, you're looming the fourth shot, right? The extra damage that does. Misfortune does less damage with future autos.
Yeah, true.
Very, very much about the opening burst, but after that, it falls away. Rift Herald is commanded, but just like in game number 1, this is not going to actually crack a turret 2 games in a row.
Yep, Shelly's just going to smack around at some minions underneath this one, but does get it relatively low. Remember last time around it was to save an Aatrox turret, because Aatrox had no ability to siege. Did make sense that they just loosen that one up, but Kuro on the Zoe now does have some sieging capabilities. Not even when it comes to how healthy these turrets are in the mid lane.
So again, we talked about in Champion Select how this game was expected to go. Keen hits the side lane and pushes, and the 4-man core of Afreeca tried to delay. Problem there is, they don't really have much way to engage onto the 3-man core of Griffin, and this Misfortune is already in a really nice spot of power. Still, Afreeca Freecs will kite down and pick up their first Drake of the game. If Griffin walk up while Keen is split pushing, there's limited ways to stop both Griffin engaging and actually engage onto Griffin for Afreeca Freecs.
Well, you can see Lehens, he's posturing. Wants to get himself another Hexaflash pickup. Can't find it. They know that Kramer doesn't have that flash, but not long until it is back off cooldown and he gets himself back into a position of relative safety. Tracking the Varus flash will certainly be forefront of Griffin's minds and also needs to be what we need to be paying attention to as well, given that does hinge Afreeca's ability to play aggressively.
About a 900 gold lead for the Quinn. Expected, something that you just expect every Quinn to do, kind of cut to a gangplank in a decent matchup, same sort of story.
Yep.
The Olaf is probably going to once again go for this I am a roaming damage threat rather than going for any semblance of tank items like a Righteous Glory. Probably going to be Black Cleaver again coming through from Tarzan.
Well, you can see Griffin trying to siege this one out as Viper moves so incredibly fast. Yep. Pops the Ghost Blade and gets out of the way of the Explosive Cask.
Doesn't have to use Flash onto that Explosive Cask, means he can walk up again. Griffin slow and steady when it comes to this mid lane siege. Slow and steady both ways could be so viable. Remember, it was late game Quinn and outplays from Keen that won them that game over Gen G. So while they won't be able to team fight, there's no reason they can't emulate what Griffin did in game number 1 or just what they have done previously and out macro Griffin in the late game.
One of the problems here is that Griffin are putting Chovy and Viper in the same lane to try and siege this outer turret mid.
They just desperately want that turret.
They really do need it. It's what you can feel, but Kramer's been able to clear out minion waves pretty easily as once again Keen flies through with the Sky Strike, actually looking for the solo, flashes under and has the Ignite to definitely secure it. All too easy from the Quinn. It will mean outer turret falls in the mid lane from Griffin.
Does it?
I don't know whether it's going to be enough as there's bullet time paired with the Shockwave. A lot of damage comes in as Viper has to use the cleanse and has to strut his way out of there, and they still don't get the turret, they don't get the kills, and their top lane is dead.
With the mid lane turret knocked down, they don't get the vision. Kuro poking in, he's able to get damage out of range. Keen returns the side lane push. This is exactly what Afreeca were looking for. Because the mid lane outer turret is down, Lehens and Chovy together can't pull off the engage.
And all of a sudden, the tides have turned here in favor of Afreeca Freecs. Keen grabs those 2 items, takes down an inner turret bottom lane, and will continue to be a gigantic threat. He's got so much money in his back pocket as well. Things only get worse for Griffin if they're anywhere near this Quinn.
It's definitely just a game of ultimatums, of statements, of posturing, of people saying, don't you know what we can do at certain power levels? We knew Keen would reach this level. 1 item wasn't looking great, 2 items. He's working his way towards his pseudo 80 carry build. He's got the rapid fire cannon. He's working towards an Infinity Edge. As the next item build here, Keen is online. Griffin can't get the mid lane turret to actually use the engage they've drafted, and that means Afreeca Freecs find another advantage.
Yeah, I really hope it's the Infinity Edge as well. Just keep the stopwatch until you have to use it and then build the GA. Otherwise, you're not really getting very much value out of the 600 gold of the stopwatch. Like what you say there, is Chovy going to push out this wave? He's been relatively quiet, as a lot of our Orianas are around the mid game. Charging himself up for that shockwave. Landed his first one. See whether the next one's going to be better. Now on 2 items. Morellonomicon completed. Griffin certainly still powerful in this game. The gold still not even a lead for Afreeca after what was a beautiful passage of play that we just witnessed at around 22 minutes.
But there's certain things Griffin can't abide by, and Varus solo farming topside after being shut down by both the Misfortune pick and the rotational play from Griffin can't happen. They need to drag Varus into fights before he hits his items. Griffin walking up, get another auto. They should get the turret this time.
Yep. Even though Viper has to tank it for a little while, thankfully Command Protect is available. And finally, that outer turret falls. Keen, he's got a long ride to get towards a turret here towards bottom side.
And now mid is finally a long lane for deep vision to actually allow an Alistair Ori combo or another initiation play from Griffin. Griffin is very much on a timer. If Quinn keeps pushing, she's going to get those turrets. And she's going to try and find a split push inhibitor. But if they can punish with all they engage, maybe it doesn't matter what Quinn can do in the 1 and bot lane.
Yeah. You look at the top lane, you say that's probably where she should be, right? Because there's standing gold available. They just don't have any control vision-wise up there, so it feels a little bit like suicide as the gank squad coming in from Griffin would certainly be enough. You can see Kuro, he's moving up. He's going to be able to take down the first one. And with Spirit and Tucson in the area, was able to successfully grab that one away.
It's like a seal item coming out from Viper, maybe rapid fire cannon for a bit of bonus Q range.
I saw the dagger and I was like, oh, Storm Razor again, I like it. But this time, going to possibly go for that rapid fire cannon, like you say.
Many different schools of thought as to the best way to min-max items. You can understand Storm Razor Infinity Edge, you can understand rapid fire cannon just for a bit more poke was the Storm Razor third in game number 1, coming through on the Varus. So
Yeah.
Viper does do it his way, as the bot lane Kled and all his cavalcade of awesome dudes should remind you. Bean.
Tarzan's going to find Keen here, but who's found who as Chovy's going to run his way down? Keen running so damn fast with the Blade of the Ruin King available to him.
And Phase Rush, baby. He loves the Nikes, did it on the
Yeah,
Rise,
that's
does it
true.
on the Quinn as well.
Super quick. Adds to his ability to chase, and as you can see, his ability to get the hell out. If he feels like he's not going to be able to do it, it's going to once again be Black Cleaver. Hex Drinker already completed here by Tarzan as well. We'll see whether he does decide to go towards a Guardian Angel that was so effective in game number 1.
Static Shiv, actually, is the second item from Kramer for a bit of burst.
Wow.
He's gone Swifty Boots as well. If you had double Swifty Boots carries in the semi-final of LCK in the pool, I guess you won. Congratulations.
And neither of them are Jhin,
No.
which is the crazy part.
None of them are Jhin. Crazy to see.
He's going to run along over as okay. Kramer doesn't have the flash still, remember, but the cask for the disengage was so nice. Bullet time, once again, not going to be able to take the life of the Varus as Griffin. They try to start a fight, they don't get anything.
Kramer did not have flash. That's why so much was invested by Lehens. They don't kill him. They know he's chunked out. Sadly for Griffin, they're going to have to recall from this anyway, so they feel bad about Lehens expending his flash for no picks or game state changes, as Kramer does not go down.
Yeah, they do manage to get the ultimate from Spirit, but we know Explosive Cask has such an incredibly short cooldown. Kramer as well, throwing his ult into the mix. Stand United being on cooldown could be something that Griffin could play around for the next minute or so, but even that is going to be up relatively soon. Viper completes his third item before Kramer has even started his. That is certainly good news here for Griffin. Can they actually find any opportunity to utilize it is the real question.
Still for Sword, you feel like one summoner spell is removed because the Shen ult does function as a summoner spell for Quinn to win the 1v1 harder, but the Ignite is still there. He's still gone for double summoners, if you think about it, to try to dominate the lane. So it doesn't actually relieve that much pressure from the Gnar. So Shen ultimate will be up in a few seconds. He's going to spot Gnar.
Yep, throws down his control ward. Crush has to be used. And Keen not going to opt in for anything more and just sets on up, calls in the bird. Continues to be a menace on the bottom side.
The bird is the word, but IE is also the word for Quinn.
Yeah, I like that he picked that one up instead of the GA.
That's what he's doing again. He's going full offensive. We'll see if he just skips the Storm Razor and goes for a second Zeal item. Very possible. Just wants to dunk lane harder and harder. The Gnar is built Randuin, so not really going to have any true return threat onto the Quinn. Going to have to be about a TP and a prayer for Sword in this game. Wants to go 8-0 on the Gnar in summer season. A tougher ask when Keen has really counterpicked him in this game.
Oh, yeah. But this is how Sword plays the Gnar. He's not necessarily our lane-dominant Gnar players like a Smev would be. Is right into a Pulverize. Keen taking so much damage, even gets the follow-up stun. And that means the end of the life of the Quinn, and no flash either. That's huge news for Griffin.
Griffin didn't even know they were going to get a fried chicken delivery in the middle of the game, but they get one. They fry down Quinn. What can they get with this advantage? Remember, no teleport on Keen. Very quick to rotate, but this is map control Griffin.
Well, they're looking for the Baron here as Kuro gets a lot of damage onto Tarzan. That means a lot of attack speed as teleport is going to be invested here. Okay, Kuro, what can he actually get done as there's the explosive cast. Tucson can't find anything, was looking to layer on another Ignite. But the Olaf should be able to get himself back home. No Baron to be taken, however.
Gragas ultimate so easy to stop the Baron. It means that Olaf has to pop his own ult, and they have position on the mid lane turret as well. So they get a pick, but they can't get the Baron. So much poke from Afreeca. Very difficult to do.
Well, trouble level means that Viper can move up, complete some of these minions, but Kramer just stands there, takes out inner turret in the mid lane. Only one inner remaining. 5 turrets taken here by the Afreeca Freecs as Griffin, 3 taken down so far this game. No inners have actually been walked towards, and Afreeca, you can see it in the vision. The map control is just all on their side.
And red side Zoe Varus is pretty much GG to try to take a 4v5 Baron against. Even though you have that 5 members, you're just unable to disregard all the poke on the side of Afreeca, and they had already used a lot of their engage. Try to get the first pick, say back away. Still going to feel good about slowing down the Quinn. Sword used his teleport in that play, which means that now he doesn't have the teleport to try to make a proactive play, and we already know the 1v1 isn't going to suit him either.
Yeah, once again, Gathering Storm being picked up here. Certainly working out here for Keen, who's got almost 300 AD at 30 minutes into the game.
Level 18 already as well.
Flame Horizon about to kick in 2 minions.
31 minutes, level 18 with double Cloud Drake. The gotta go fast Keen is definitely living up to his title.
Yep. Probably only Viper that could potentially move faster than him, and that's when he's certainly not on the bird.
Tarzan clears through some vision here. How will Griffin find a foothold into this game? For now, they're largely being run around by the Quinn and not being able to set up the engage despite getting down that mid lane turret. We've already seen that any sort of really decisive Baron call, kind of like the Elder call they made in game number 1, is probably going to be turned on them unless they can also cement the engage onto the defenders, and that's hard to do as a blue side team against Zoe Varus. So given those things, very interested to see how Griffin diagnose a way to actually make a true lead. They can make Afreeca bleed, but to actually wound them seems more tricky.
I feel like when Chovy does pick up this Rabadon's Death Cap, though, and then even further than that, the Void Staff will be very important here for the Orianna as well. He's farming extraordinarily well. Yes, the scoreline is 0-0-0, but when you have the Orianna insurance policy, with a composition like this, when you can pop the ball onto the head of the cow and then throw him into a fight, certainly is an opportunity for Griffin to find something, as Predator was invested there from Spirit, but doesn't find anything.
Zooming in onto the Flame Horizon. I'm sure when people saw Gnar take a good trade against Keen at level 9, they thought, what is he saying about this matchup? Nope, Keen is just going to run around the Gnar and continue to build for lane. Makes it very tricky for Gnar to pick up anything other than the dregs of a couple of minion waves when Quinn decides that the Gnar can get near them.
Yep. Being dictated to at the moment is Sword.
No answering Flame Horizon, small lead for mid bot lane. So because of the Quinn being able to rotate so fast and the teleport nerf, Quinn just having so much more map mobility means that it's just, honestly, Gnar losing minions to the turret that makes up a lot of the gold lead for Afreeca Freecs.
Now triple Cloud Drake as well. And that is actually noticeable movement speed, even in combat. So big deal for the Afreeca Freecs. See 6%. There's nothing to scoff at, guys. You're back at home, movement speed, one of the best stats in the game, guaranteed.
So, is our observer going to catch Keen coming out of base in Harrier form? That's what we need to see. Right now, just so you guys know, he has 743 movement speed. With all of the diminishing returns, pretty impressive.
Wait, 796?
Yep, up to 796 now. Oh no, only 443 in combat, but it goes up again.
Yep, and when he uses his Blade of the Rune King, it's going to be even more. Christ, he's moving pretty quick. Chovy, he's still able to grab minions. Lehen's just waiting in the wings, understanding that he certainly will be away for Chovy to get a little bit more work done.
Afreeca start up the Baron. Let's see if Griffin are going to diagnose this game state change. When do you check it? They have a blue trinket up on Orianna, but she's in base. They might not check this till it's really low.
Yep, there's loads of pings
they
coming in
know.
Here. It's okay.
It's going to be a free Baron.
That's just a free Baron.
It is.
And Griffin aren't going to see it. All too easy. They can sneak them as well. And Griffin say, oh God, that was silly.
Not having the teleport on Sword with all the area Keen can rotate to. The only blue trinket choosing that time to shop, meaning no ranged clear or check, no Swain W, for example. To check the pit means that Afreeca get a freebie Baron. That is definitely the biggest moment of this game, 35 minutes in. And you remember how the Gnar was doing against the Quinn before? Now throw in a Baron.
Yeah, it's going to be even worse. I don't think anyone can go anywhere near Keen at this point in the game if you're a Griffin fan, and that means that minion waves will be knocking on the door of the Griffin base. Already taken so much damage from the amount of pressure that Afreeca have already put on. Now 2.5 minutes. They have to throw the purple buff towards Griffin.
And the edge is going to be completed by Viper, adjusting his build from what we've seen from Y4 and some of the other misfortunes. Definitely a way you can go. To me, the Misfortune pick hasn't worked as cleanly in the LCK as it does in the LPL because there's been so much less fighting. Misfortune Ultimate with 2 lethality items in level 11 does insane damage when you're fighting again and again, so summoners are down most of the time and you're still fighting. When summoners are up, we've seen very little value out of Misfortune outside of the early laning phase where she did run the lane against Varus.
Yeah. Did her job, most definitely, but it's just not enough.
Not every pick suits every region. Trundle's really good in Korea, but there's definitely arguments for it to not be as good elsewhere. The Quinn doing surprisingly well in Korea. not being forced to team fight, but being forced to just do what she does, which is this split pushing.
Exactly this. Just destroying these turrets over and over again. Kuro doing the same thing on the bottom side as Kramer. Just trying to throw out some piercing arrows. I don't know whether Sword has exactly the wave clear to stop this as Chains of Corruption go wide. Now Viper has to get himself down here to try and defend, but it's just not early enough as the base of Griffin is just getting torn apart by the Afreeca Freecs. They're stretching them across this map. It's exactly what Griffin don't want with their teamfight composition.
Yeah, against Baron buff, sort of Baron buff you'd never expect a Quinn comp to pick up. This is where Griffin really don't have any answers. They're at the whims of what Afreeca Freecs can do. One trouble bubble hits, another person gets deleted. It's 2 inhibitors going down. Quinn in the top side says, hello, I'm still level 18. Sword slowly picking up minions. The Flame Horizon confirmed many minutes ago.
It was 110 CS now in the lead here for Kane, who gets hit by a boomerang, so at least can't stop Sword at this point in time, but these turrets are just getting taken lower and lower.
And who's the Orianna and Alistair to engage on? Right now, Lehen's just with Viper, the rest of the threats are all separating. With Baron buff, the 1-3-1 can happen so cleanly from Afreeca Freecs. Should be bot lane inhibitor rolling down. So little Chovy can do.
Yep, the 1-2-2 being enacted at this point in time, and like you say, inhibitor falls, immediately followed by the mid inhibitor turret. And that top also is very, very close to falling down. Bubble lands as Kuro wants to try and get that follow-up. Paddlestar doesn't, onto Lehen's. And Griffin, they haven't actually committed to any fights. They haven't committed to anything. Afreeca Freecs have just taken it all from under their noses.
Just so little to choose from between Griffin and Afreeca Freecs for the majority of the game. And just like a 50-50 Elder choice by Griffin in game number 1 was what opened the door for the victory. It's all about the smart Baron timing from Afreeca, the sort of fallback mechanics that their approach as a squad has been. This team doesn't scrim much because they only really run internal scrims. They don't do much scrims against other teams. They don't do much solo queue because they're so focused on refining their own techniques and shrouding themselves in a bit of mystery. End result has been that when it comes to those points where you have to count trinkets and work out how safe or how secure your Baron take is, Afreeca Freecs have looked razor sharp in the playoffs. Big Baron buff, about 2,700 gold power play here for the side of the Afreeca Freecs. And while Griffin, if they had denied the Baron for any longer or got the Baron themselves, would have been in a bit of a win more position, either turret diving or being able to counter the Quinn's pressure in the side lane against the Baron. They really had no answer.
Yep, it's been proven now, but no more Baron buff available. In 25 seconds is the Elder Drake timer.
Kind of want to see Afreeca get it just for the movement speed numbers.
It'll be pretty ridiculous. Viper does have his Dusk Blade, so spots out this vision as, okay, Spirit's going to get caught out of position. Exactly not who you want to get caught, and that means the flash comes out immediately. Tucson turning up as the Predator's going to give Spirit so much movement speed. He escapes. In the meantime, in the chaos, it's going to be Keen baiting in Sword, who does have a stopwatch to deny the death as, yeah, Viper, you don't want to take that fight, buddy. That is not you. As Afreeca Freecs still able to turn around and start up the Elder Drake as well.
Predator popped just to try to zone them away. Tarzan desperately wanted to pick because they were losing the 1v1 on top side. At the same time, they don't get the pick. Keen's going to get the inhibitor.
He could get 2 inhibitors off this one, as Griffin do not want to give away this Elder Drake because they know that they're just going to lose, but I have a feeling they may just lose anyway. Another bullet time just thrown into the air in what feels like celebration as Viper. He's not going to die this time, but still, they're going to lose everything else. Keen, not even worrying about the mid inhibitor. He wants to win the game, Papa Smithy.
Not often you can split push the game, but there's just no way for Griffin to take anywhere near macro movements because Quinn is so immovable. On the top side, you see the power of red side for Afreeca when you have a player like Keen and a team so practiced in macro that they can run this Quinn and not be frustrated like SK Telecom was running the same champion. Keen walks up, the 3rd inhibitor goes down, and it seems like Griffin will never get the shockwave combo they were looking for in the draft.
Yeah, even Tal's Quinn looked pretty devastating in lane. Give it to the Asia Games representative for Korea, our best performing top laner in the league right now. You can see exactly how oppressive it is. Kane is just an absolute beast. As we're close to a 10,000 gold lead, but the main thing is the fact that there are 0 inhibitors available for Griffin, and there is a huge buff on Afreeca. This next push, I mean, Griffin might be able to find that team fight they're looking for, but honestly, It's not a 5v5 anymore. It's 5 plus a billion creeps and a gigantic buff that the 5 have.
And we always talk about the inability for Keen to teamfight on the Quinn. It's a pretty open map, so getting a flank is possible. And also, the one area where you say, well, you have to teamfight is, of course, around the Nexus and the Nexus turrets, what we found out in the 94-minute game. A very extended defense by Jinair against SKT in spring season. You have so much burst damage on Keen, maybe it doesn't matter as Lahen's patrolling for a flank. Is there any follow-up? It seems like no.
Yeah, Lahen's going to get caught out here as well as Kramer throws the ultimate towards him, but it doesn't really matter. Afreeca are just buying time. They're doing so beautifully because you can see the Quinn doing so much work. A lot of knockbacks coming in everywhere. It's chaos in this fight as Kuru gets caught by the shockwave in the backline, but Lahen's just out of position. Tarzan as well. And Sword's going to get taken down. Keen, just too massive. Another bullet time. More in celebration there from Viper as Afreeca Freecs will even out the series 1-1 as the Nexus gets taken down. A beautiful, beautiful game. Keen absolutely dominant on the Quinn.
Another Quinn